Hola! Today we're going to learn how to form the present progressive tense in Español. You previously heard about the present progressive when we were reviewing Sarah and a Star shortly before the December break, and I mentioned that you use a star with something called the present progressive. It was the letter P in pelt in that mnemonic device we used, but you didn't have to worry about it at that point in time. The time when you need to start learning it is now. And so we're going to walk through it and make sure you understand how to form it, as well as have information about some irregularities you may see when forming the ing forms of verbs. You see the conjugation of the verb estar here because, as you know, we need it to form the present progressive. What the present progressive is something that we use to emphasize that what we are talking about is happening right now. So, for example, if I were to tell you something in English using the present progressive, I would say, the dog is wandering around the basement. That's what he's doing right now. I am making a recording for Spanish 2. That's what I'm doing right now. And the cat is hiding over near the closet, I believe. That's what she's doing right now. So those are just a few quick examples as to what is going on and in this room as I'm creating this recording. You need to be aware that this is a compound verb tense, and that in Spanish we use the correct conjugation of estar and el presente, plus a present participle to form it. And right now what we have are the conjugations of the verb estar. We'll go over present participles in just a moment. You need to get these down because even though you already probably know them pretty well, to have them as a quick reference may be handy for you, and also a reminder as to where the accents go. So in the correct space on la primera página, please write yo estoy, tú estás, él, ella, usted está, nosotros estamos, vosotros estáis, and ellos, ellas, or ustedes están. Remember that it's extremely important to make sure that you have the accents on the A in the bottom four conjugations, estás, está, estáis, and están, especially with estás and está, because as you know by now, estás without the accent means these, and esta without the accent means this. Now, we have to deal with present participles because in order to form the present progressive, you need to use one of these after your conjugation of estar. It is a separate word. The present participle is the ing form of a verb. It's also called the gerund. So you may have heard it as a present participle, a gerund, or you can think of it in this class as well as the ing form of a verb. And we usually don't use it on its own. For example, in English, we're not going to say I running, I sleeping, he working, she eating. You'd say I am running, I am sleeping, she is eating, he is working. So you do need, even in English, that helping verb in the form of the verb to be, just like we do in Español. In order to form them for AR verbs, the first thing you have to do is drop the AR and you add the letters ando. So for example, the present participle or ing form of the verb lavar, to wash, would be lavando. For ER and IR verbs, drop the ER or IR and you add the letters yendo. So for example, the present participle of the verb hacer would be haciendo. The present participle of the verb vivir would be viviendo. Look at the examples on this page, on this slide here, before you do números 1 a 4 at the top of página 2, to make sure that you have a visual and a quick review as to how to put this together to form the present progressive. You'll note that each of these sentences in English has both a helping verb. We have am in the first one, is in the second one, and are in the third one, plus the present participle or ing form of the second verb, cleaning in the first one, feeding in the second one, and cleaning again, using a different verb in the third one. So be aware that although this looks different to you, the structure in English and Spanish is actually very much the same. Look at these examples, and if you have questions as to how this is all put together before you try números 1 a 4 on the top of página 2, please raise your hand and call me over to ask for help. So to start off, we have I am cleaning. Yo estoy limpiando. My daughter is feeding the dog. Mi hija está dando de comer al perro. The children are cleaning their rooms. Los niños están arreglando sus cuartos. So, for example, let's say that someone called the house on a Sunday and asked what we were doing. Well, right now I'm cleaning, and my daughter's feeding the dog, and the children are maybe, hopefully, cleaning their rooms. In other words, emphasis of what someone or certain individuals are doing right now. Take a moment and pause the video. Reference your vocab sheet as needed. To complete números 1 a 4 at the top of página 2. I am more than happy to come and check your work when you've completed these 4 before you move on. When you're done, unpause the video and continue on with the rest of the information you need. There are a few other things here that you need to know. The first piece of information has to do with los verbos con cambio de raíz, or stem changers. AR and ER verbs that change en el presente, like mover, or UE, to move, fregar, IE, to scrub, and volver, or UE, to return, don't have a stem change at all. They stay completely, totally, and utterly normal and boring in the present participle. So, for example, we'd say, I'm scrubbing the dishes. Yo estoy fregando los platos. However, IR verbs that have a stem change follow a rule that's somewhat different. And starting to work with this rule now will actually serve you well when we work with stem changers in the preterite right after February break. You need to be aware that verbs like pedir, that change from E to I, or E to IE, change from E to I only in the present participle. So we could say, for example, Mom is asking for the broom. Mamá está pidiendo la escoba. Verbs like dormir, that go from O to UE in the present, change from O to U in the pretérito. In the preterite, as we'll see shortly, but for now in the present participle. So, por ejemplo, we have papá está durmiendo. That O at the beginning of durmiendo changes to a U. Dad is sleeping. Couple more bits of information before we are all set here. The first thing you need to know is that there are 2 verbs with present participles that are considered to be more irregular than others. Venir is viniendo. Poder is pudiendo. These are both stem changers in the present. Venir is a yogo. But the beginning forms of venir, the beginnings of these forms of viniendo and pudiendo, are actually much more similar to the irregular conjugations of these verbs in el pretérito than the conjugations in el presente. Finally, the verbs listed below, such as ir, oír, traer, leer, and construir, so therefore verbs that end with AER, EER, and UIR, have a present participle that ends with YENDO instead of IENDO. The reason for that is because in Spanish you cannot have 3 vowels in a row without having the syllables separated by an accent. So putting the Y there for YENDO instead of I for IENDO helps eliminate that problem. So for ear, the present participle is yendo, YENDO. Oír, oyendo, OYENDO. Traer, trayendo, TRAYENDO. Leer, leyendo, LEYENDO. Y construir, construyendo, CONSTRUYENDO. Now that you're all set, please take a moment, do números 1 a 11 on páginas 3 y 4. Anything you do not finish does become homework. and be aware that if you finish, I am more than happy to check over your work and help you through any spots where you may be having difficulties or where you have questions. Gracias.